What's up, guys? So I need to start a conversation with you. Last week, I released a podcast where Mike, Trevor, and myself talked about the fear of getting rejected in the sync licensing business. It is one of the biggest reasons why so many producers do not make it to full-time income or even part-time income, because they're so worried that if they submit to a library, they could get rejected. And that means that they themselves are going to be rejected and pushed out of this industry, and they'll feel like an imposter and they shouldn't even be, here at all. So it's a really, really common thing. A lot of producers deal with it. So that's why we decided to dedicate a full episode to it. And now what I want to do for the next 4 weeks is we're going to basically dive into further topics and other fears and other psychological issues that a lot of producers face. Not necessarily talking about the technical aspects of sync licensing, about how to produce, mix, or master, or even how to navigate the business side of things, but we're going to dive into the spiritual, mental, psychological, emotional side of getting successful and becoming successful with sync licensing. So here's what I'm going to ask of all of you right now watching this video. I need you to comment below, right, this video. Let me know what fears, struggles, hurdles that keep coming up for you, okay? If you've been in this game for a year or two, or maybe even just 6 months or even a couple of months, what are some of the things or some of the little voices or some of the little fears that keep, like the arrows that keep getting thrown into your mind, that keep getting you going, I don't know if this is gonna work out for me in the long run, right? It could be fear of rejection. I want to hear about that as well, even though we talked about it. If that's what you're going through, put that below. I'd like to hear about that. If you're worried that you just aren't good enough, or you're worried about how long it's going to take to succeed, you're worried that, you're afraid of actually succeeding because that might actually mean something and change your life or change relationships within your family. You are feeling inadequate. I don't care what the fear or the issue is. Please, I just encourage you to be vulnerable and to be honest and just let me know what it is below. The reason being is I am planning on putting together a lot of new content centered around this kind of stuff. Okay, not necessarily so much about the technical side of licensing, but more the deep down emotional, psychological, mental side of how do you go from where you are to where you want to be. Because I can tell you, without a doubt, one of the biggest reasons why most producers bail out of this business is not because they couldn't learn how to use a compressor, or they couldn't learn how to use Logic Pro 10, or they didn't understand how to get their tracks registered or to check on their registration with the library. The technical things are, believe it or not, the easy part of succeeding. The harder part is what's going on up here, right? Because there's a lot of voices up there. There's a lot of lies being said up there. There's a lot of fear being swirled around and a lot of thoughts that are consuming us and making us suffer needlessly and getting in the way of us getting to where we want to go in our sync licensing career. So this new content I'm going to be putting out there, it's going to come in the form of mostly new Sync Academy tutorials, but I do want to release a lot of it here on my YouTube channel. So for those of you that have been following since coronavirus broke out, I had a couple of those kind of different videos where it was dark and I was talking about things that had nothing really to do with sync licensing in a sort of direct way, but more in that spiritual kind of deep down stuff. And that really unlocked and opened up this kind of floodgate of really honest and vulnerable and great comments and emails from all of you guys, or a lot of you guys. And I appreciate you guys doing that. And the more that I was getting that conversation going, the more that I realized that there's a depth to this business that a lot of people, I don't think anybody really talks about. And it's not just this business, but there's just a depth to being a human being and trying to do something different, right? When you're trying to do sync licensing for a career or even just for part-time income, you're doing something that probably nobody in your social circle has ever done before. So you really are sort of branching out, and you are the Lewis and Clark of your world, where you are actually exploring new terrain and you're going to plant your flag in an unknown and unclaimed territory, right? Scary, very, very scary. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of guts. And without having all the actual answers for how to do it, even though you might have, resources that I provide, your journey is going to be different than mine, and you're going to have to make decisions on your path that might be a little different from mine. And that's where you need to have that confidence to know it's okay to make your best guess at things. And if you make a mistake, you just have to learn from the mistake, and it doesn't mean that your entire career is over, okay? So with all that kind of content that I've been sort of playing with that I put out there before, I want to dive a little further into that kind of side of things again. But this time, of course, it's with the big umbrella of sync licensing over all of it. Okay, so we're not going to dive into just spiritual topics or emotional topics just to go into that. It's going to be with the idea, the consideration in mind that we want to find out from all of you guys, what are you struggling with in your sync licensing careers when it comes to your mental, emotional, psychological state, that we can maybe help push you along in a better direction. Now, we are not psychologists. I am certainly not a psychologist. I am no expert on anything that has to do with any of that stuff, okay? Not spirituality, not psychology, not mental health, right? Not an expert on any of those kind of things. And I certainly don't want to come across as preachy or as somebody who has it all figured out. I do not have it all figured out. I'm on my journey just like you are on your journey, okay? However, I think we can help each other out. That's really what I think. And I think it's not going to be just one way. It's not going to be just myself, Mike, or Trevor, or maybe other Sync Academy pros giving their insights, but some of you actually might be feeding us. And that's certainly what happened when I put out those videos before. Those comments and those emails that I got, it really helped me actually way more than I ever helped any of you guys. I can almost guarantee you that, okay? So it's going to be a give and take, a two-way conversation, which is really fun and really cool. And, you know, that's kind of what I'd rather have. I don't want to be on a soapbox preaching to people. I want it to be a conversation back and forth. So once again, last time I'll say it, please comment below. Let me know what your biggest fears, concerns, issues, obstacles are in your sync licensing career so that we can better serve you with some really cool content that we have planned for you coming up soon.